Hey, be quiet, I'm on the beat now, so mind blowing, motherfuckers going scene now. Think it's pretty obvious what I'm gonna be now. I've been on the rise, got them thinking I'm a tree now. Said I'm finna fuck the game, about to play my seed now. Make the wrong move, watch your buddy never be found. Your career bricked, I'ma catch it off the rebound. You playing like shit, you can go and take a seat now. Look, right from the jump, I'll be fucking it up. Pussies running and packs finna slump. The whole bunch come at me for my paper. Your hoe getting punched, trying to keep up with me. That's a hell of a lunch. Heard he want beef with me, that's a hell of a lunch. I've been starving for beef, so I ordered me something. I seasoned them up and I started the monster. And I heard he last shit, then I threw it all up. Yeah, let me dumb it down for the slow folks. I've been running shit, y'all a bunch of slow pokes. You compare to me, that's pure comedy. Yeah, didn't know you had jokes, bro. It's ironic cause you the only joke, bro. Say your bread on fire, now it's toast, bro. Trying to climb, can't exceed, telling so. Come see me if you wanna learn the ropes, though. Y'all got me started, my track's the hottest. My flow retarded, kill shit regardless. You're disregarded to me, you're harmless. I'm Jeffrey Dahmer, guilty, your honor. Shit, non-personas, no Dalai Lama, no Gucci, Prada, death by designer. Still flexing on them, although I'm still in a state of prima donna. I'm just too real for the dumb shit. Everybody know the deal when I jump in. Fuck your assumptions, I get the bust and leave them with nothing. Treat the world like my ashtray when I have a bad day. Got them looking up to me, do whatever dad say. Girls on their knees, biting me like a sensei, and they do it cause they wanna know so they can get the rent paid. Please let me breathe. As a kid, I dreamed of being on MTV. Now I just wanna be as red as can be. I'ma just be me, don't wanna keep it PG. Bitch, I'm not free. First album, but it's feeling like a 3P. But you better retreat, not even halfway through the beat, it's already deceased. Can we agree? You don't like me, cold licking nutsack. Yeah, I see them tampons in your knapsack. Always liable to snap, so the fuck back. Put my name on the map, how you like that? Spend 6, get 12 back. All the space crack bad bitches sipping Jack Bite on my 6-pack. She got me a present, that pussy gift wrap. She spend time with me, you won't get your bitch back, that's facts. I heard you wanna succeed, but you won't even try. You ain't going nowhere, shit, I wonder why. Meanwhile, I'm over here making grown men cry. Cause I came along and stole a piece of the pie side. Is that good? Is that good? No? Hey, look, my flow's contagious, I'm sick with the spits. No vaccination is curing the shit. She masturbating when she listen to this. No procreation, but can still get the dick. Only time I kiss assing when I'm with you, bitch. When you ask who she wish, she just played the fifth. Y'all out the pocket, I'm finna blitz. Your throwaways are my pick six. I put twist on these words, calligraphy. I'm not a wannabe, I'm supposed to be. Many try, but they ain't even close to me. I'm a dope MC, y'all a joke to me. I've been working on my craft, it's a miracle. How I whip it if you can't get the heat. Get the fuck up out the kitchen, I'm a fiend for this music, all these beats got me itching. I'm a diamond in the rough, sit back and watch me glisten. Make them all jump like a group of pussies. Damn right, I'm a killer motherfucker. Push me, I've been doing this. You a fucking rookie. I'm sorry, y'all sweeter than some fucking tootsies. Y'all sons to me, here's a fucking cookie. Dropped a freestyle and look where it took me. Got an underground legend wanting to book me. Dudes tipping if they claiming they ever shook me. Said she wanna have my baby, tell her get in line. Bitch a steady line, I ain't got the time. She could be a dime, wouldn't change my mind. Still in my prime, I got plenty time. I've been the chosen one, they'll realize. I've been looking down from a high rise. I don't like what I see, time to skydive. This is views from my cloud, let the beat ride. Let's get it.
Brutal business, bitch.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Uncovering the Underground Radio Show. As always, I'm your host, Skippy Ickham of Brutal Business Entertainment, and we bring you our show through Brutal Business Entertainment and First Angel Media, hosted through Spreaker. You can check us out through Spreaker.com or through the Spreaker app. That's Spreaker. That'll allow you not only to listen to the show, but you can interact with the show live, sending us messages for our guest tonight, asking him anything that you might be curious of, just kind of giving us your feedback and being a part of the show. We always encourage it. You can also listen on any other platform out there. It might not give you the option of chatting with us, but you can listen to us from iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and everything in between. We do bring you a show each and every Thursday night, 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Always up-and-coming great artists, models, bands, you name it, we bring them on. Tonight we have a wonderful hip-hop artist from Ohio by the name of FlatLyne The Daemon, and we're going to be bring it on the show here in just a minute. But before we do that, as always, do want to thank my sponsors, Tattooed Scumbag Apparel. You can check them out at tattooedscumbag.com. They make everything from hoodies to beanies, socks, sweatpants, very comfortable, well-made gear that I always say I wear it on stage. I love rocking it in the public. I love rocking it when I'm laying on home, in the couch at the house just watching TV. So you can't go wrong with their gear. It's made for anything. Supports a good local Pittsburgh artist here, and he sure would appreciate it. You can try promo code BBE10 on the website, and you'll get 10% off your overall order. So whether that's one item or it's a whole bunch of stuff from them, 10% off your order with promo code BBE10 at tattooedscumbag.com. Check them out. We also want to thank Roush Designs, Legion Artworks, 5mg Artworks, and R3 Graphics for everything that they do for the label and for the show. And speaking of the label, I do run the company Brutal Business Entertainment. If you don't know about us, check us out at teambrutalbusiness.com. Everything from live events and music to modeling, paranormal team, horror review column, video game stream team, and so much more. So make sure you check it out. Always something new dropping from us on a daily and a weekly basis, and that's teambrutalbusiness.com. As I said, you can check us out each and every Thursday night with a different guest. If you haven't listened to past episodes, please jump back and listen through. There's something for absolutely everyone, from death metal to hip hop to blues to, ska. We've had it all on the show. You can't go wrong with it. We love bringing you great up-and-coming artists. Tonight is no different. So make sure you check out the past episodes as well as the present ones. Click the like, share, and follow button. The more that you do that, the more that it moves us up the rankings of the podcast community, more people that discover the show, plus it lets you know when a new show is dropping. So, tonight we have FlatLyne The Daemon. And I'm going to read you his bio that he gave me. I'm going to read it from my perspective because it's written from his. So if I make any mistakes, I apologize. But it says that his dad was a full-on, hair-to-his-ass, naked Woodstock hippie. Mom was a party girl. He grew up listening to Floyd, King Crimson, ABBA on his dad's side, Sabbath, Metallica, and fucking Kobe Keith on his mom's side. All the while, his sister was blaring Bone Thugs. So it's kind of all over the place musically. Early on, around 11 or 12, he started having a lot of people around him die. From family to friends, he lost most of the people he knew in his life. At 15, he found his best friend and the person that gave him the idea to start rapping hung by his neck in his room. A month later, his mother, my second mom, took her own life as well. Not long after that, his brother passed away. He made a promise to his best friend that he wouldn't stop making music no matter what happened to either of them. And here he is, still going on in his honor. Give me 1 second here, folks. My computer's being a little weird tonight for some reason. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with it tonight. So at 16, actually, let me jump back in here. He started a rock band, microphone duct taped to a Jack Daniels bottle, posting music to YouTube, making burn CDs, and slanging them around shows in Cleveland. He's done a lot of small shows, open up for artists like Tech9, Twisted, ABK, Axe, Low Key, Jelly Roll, and many more. Never really looked at it seriously, though. Never really been that big into the business aspect of music, the promoting and all the social media bullshit. That's never been him. He does it for the music. And he does it for the people that come across his shit, that like it and think that it's great. And that's really the point that it's all about, folks. And I apologize there for that little skip up on the audio. I joked around about, with him earlier that he might be cursed because we had a few different technical difficulties before the show that we normally don't face. And then while I'm reading it, my shit's flashing over here and there's no storm going on. So I'm thinking he's bringing a curse with him. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we got FlatLyne The Daemon. How you doing tonight, brother?
Pretty damn good. How about yourself, man?
Oh, not too bad, man. Having a little bit of trouble over here, but that's all right. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of it anyways. We would rather hear who you are from you rather than me. So, we're honored to have you on the show. I'm glad you could take some time tonight while you're on the road working to be able to kick it with us and let us pick your brain a little bit.
Hell yeah.
Now, let me go ahead and jump into it. We obviously explained a little bit about who you are, and I always like to jump into the show kind of typical, of an interview, and I keep it old school, whereas I would like to know, what really caused you to go into music? I mean, obviously with the bio that I started to read there, you had a lot of pain happen in your life there at that time period. It kind of fueled your music and your emotions into the music. But how did the choice to start rapping itself come about?
I mean, it happened pretty humbly. You know, I grew up listening to all kinds of different, sorts of music, and, growing up trying to sing along with everything. I didn't really sing along well with Metallica, nor did I with ABBA, or, Toby Keith for that matter. I mean, but when I started to vibe more with what my sister was playing, from Bone Thugs to Eazy-E, I just started feeling that a little bit more. And learning the lyrics, I realized, hey, I can actually sing along with this. And I got, a better feeling coming from that. And my best friend at 15, pretty much kind of came up the same way. His brother listened to Slayer and Acid Bath and everything like that. But he gravitated to the hip-hop aspect of it because it was more or less easier for him, in the sense that he didn't have a singing voice either. So it kind of just went straight from just the love of music to finding which one actually fit my skills just in general. And I gravitated towards it and ran with it. And I haven't really stopped since.
And how long have you been rapping at this point?
I just turned 30 yesterday. So about 15 years.
That's awesome, man. That's a nice little chunk of time into it. So congratulations on all the years of hard work that you've put in, and happy birthday. I was going to bring that up during the show anyways, but you kind of beat me to it. So folks out there, it was his birthday yesterday, so make sure you wish him a happy birthday out there if you're listening in, and much love to you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, spending 30 on the road, how was that?
Well, I mean, I was home a little bit last week for a couple of days. And kind of had like a 30th birthday party at home and everything, nothing special, but, kind of my birthday more or less has just been another day to me. You know what I mean? What's 365 days in a year really mean? So I celebrate it just in the fact that I'm still alive and actually able to even work in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, every day should be a celebration, and I look at life that way as well. I mean, I appreciate the blessing of life and being here each and every day, and what we might discover and learn, and how we can change many things by our decisions, and how we interact with the world, and what kind of energies that we put out in the world. So birthdays are very much the same. I take enough time to appreciate it to say, hey, it's my birthday. You know what I mean? That's cool, but it doesn't really at the end of the day mean a whole lot more than a regular day. Right.
And I mean, like I even just said, the 365 days in a year, why is that different than the 115th day of the year? Why should you take, I mean, yeah, like you say, take the time to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, you were born on that day, and thank your mom more than anything. But like, why is it really different? Why should you take more, what's the right word for it? Why should you look at that day as your birthday as more important than any other day? You're still here.
Yeah, exactly. And why treat it more nostalgically than any other day, because that's the day I was born 30 years ago. I mean, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. If tomorrow will be the day that you were born 30 years ago in one day.
Yeah. And what impact does that really have on my life? On a couple days before my birthday, I was hanging out with my mom because, it's just me and my girl and my mom from our little birthday get together. And I made it more about thanking my mom for even being here than it was about me. Because, I mean, hell, without her, I wouldn't be here throughout my entire life. So.
Well, that's one thing to think of too, is, I mean, you want to be appreciative to, obviously without her you wouldn't be here, and you also want to be appreciative because as you get older, that means she's getting older as well, so you get to celebrate, hey, I turned 30, my mom was still here with me. I mean, that's an important thing, as you get older and older and older and older, and eventually there becomes a time, and I mean, think about, people don't take the time to think about it. They look at, people that are older or the elderly, and they say like, oh, they lived a long life, this and that. That's true, but I mean, think of how sad it also is as well whenever you get to an age that if you live long enough, most everyone you know has passed away at this point. It's you. It's you and maybe a very select few other people in the world that you know from your time period are still alive. That's a sad thing.
Yeah, it really is. And it kind of took, I had to come mainly to grips with that when my father passed away. That was about 2 years ago now. And it kind of made me realize that, at a young age, I really kind of saw a lot of my family members just kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, dropping off like flies. So I came to grip with what death was really, really early. But it wasn't until my dad passed away where I was younger and can fully understand it to where I realized, wow, when I get that old and eventually do pass away, the only ones that are really, that I'm going to know are my kids and, my girl now. Like, I'm not going to have the family that I grew up with. And you don't really realize that until you start actually losing main portions of your family. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of weird.
It's rough, man. I mean, even friends as well. I mean, it becomes crazy. I mean, I dealt with death pretty early in life, and as you said, you come to kind of grips with it, but at the same time, I still feel that it's gone through different stages throughout life where you start to understand it more, you start to think about it differently. I mean, I know these days my experiences with death and with what happens afterwards is a lot different. Aside from the music career, I do a lot with the paranormal, so there's a lot of connection and interaction with that side, and I look at it different than I did as a kid, but coming to grips with it as a kid was a strange thing as well. Now, and throughout high school and directly after high school, I really dealt with it because over a 10-year span, I think over 35 friends of mine had passed away. In roughly 10 years, and it was like, wow, just one after another, and it was like, holy fuck.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you sit there and go, like, regardless of what the reason that they passed away, you sit there and go, how the fuck am I still here?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, well, some of them, I mean, there's a lot in that case that I sat back sad because obviously we do have a modern pandemic of not COVID, but of drug abuse, and you have so many lives that have been lost to addiction, and that unfortunately, a lot of people that I knew growing up in my area, in my town, kind of resorted to drugs and got on a dope and everything, and then it just took hold and just ransacked my area, and like I said, over a 10-year span, pretty much 35 to almost 40 friends dead. And it's like, wow, you know what I mean? So a lot of it was their choice. So I do look back like, how am I still here? But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, I just kept my head focused. But there was several, quite a bit of them that were just unfortunate accidents and things of that nature. And it's crazy to, every moment, like I said, is a blessing because every moment is a decision and every decision decides what's about to happen 20 minutes from now, an hour from now. And we don't think of it like that. If you take a left home tonight when you walk out of the building compared to the right, that could be a big life changer right there.
Yep, and that's the butterfly effect, and I fully believe in that. You make one decision and it's going to affect everything way further along down the line than you realize.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's heavy, man. It is a very heavy concept. Now, I believe that everything we do does affect it in some form or fashion. Now, I don't believe that very small, minute things are going to change much of anything, but they still change things. But there are, like I said, you walk out of the building tonight, and every night when you leave work, you take a left down the street. But for some reason tonight, you're like, I'm not going left, I go right. Well, next thing you know, you see an envelope laying on the ground, you pick it up, there's $5,000 cash in it. No idea where it came from. Boom, life just changed. Everything changed right there because of that one moment. You decided to go right, or you go right and God forbid something happens to you. A car swerves out of control and boom, gone. And it's all because you happen to be right then and there, you know what I mean? And it changes everything we do, and it is truly a blessing, and it makes you really be more aware of everything you do.
Right. And that's one main reason why I don't believe in fate, because I don't believe there's one predetermined path for anybody, because you have so many choices in front of you, and those choices affect every single thing that happens to you. So to say that fate, who's to say that, with the example that you just said, with the envelope of $5,000, were you fated to either get hit by the car or pick up $5,000?
Yeah. No, very true, man. I mean, I believe there's outside factors that can play into the theory of fate, but not fate itself. So maybe for some reason in the cosmos, there was a reason that something was supposed to happen to you a certain way, but doesn't mean that it's got to be that way necessarily. It doesn't mean that if you somehow skip past it, that, like Final Fantasy, you skip past it, you didn't die, and then all of a sudden, boom, it happens to you another way because it has to happen. I don't believe that shit. Right. I mean, I think that's good Hollywood, but no, I think that it makes it more important, and you start to really pay attention to what you do. And that's an important thing, I think, for most people to do in life, because as you start to pay attention to really what you're doing and saying, you'll notice that you actually change who you were to who you will be.
Yeah. Yeah. And mainly because a lot of people don't think of the choices that they have in front of them before they make them. They
True.
Either make the quickest choice, like the instant gratification choice to get what they want right when they want it, or they see, maybe one or two other choices, and 9 times out of 10, you have more than just those couple choices in front of you. And you really kind of have to think.
Well, we live in the age of you said it, the key word. We live in the age of instant gratification. Everybody's got to have it. Everybody's going to have it now. There can't be a side road. It has to be a direct path to exactly what I want, the way I want it. So as soon as it isn't one of those predetermined paths, so as soon as it isn't one of those, it's like I don't want to think about my other options. And it comes up in a lot of topics that we talk about on this show and in life, that we've really become a culture of instant gratification.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and kind of segueing a little bit back into the music as far as that, and with me, I don't want the instant gratification as far as my music, and I mean that more along the lines of like gaining fans or listeners and stuff like that. Like, I refuse to pay for plays, pay for views, any of that stuff. I almost refuse really promoting a lot of the stuff because I feel more gratification of people kind of finding it on their own. Like, to me, that's cooler than me posting something and then somebody that's one of my friends already clicking on it and sharing it. Like, that, I want it to be more organic. I don't have that many followers, that many listeners, but every single one of them that I do have just kind of come naturally. And to me, I think that's a lot cooler than anything else.
Oh, you should take pride in that, man, because that's the thing is, I've always believed in that as well, and that's why I'm dope as fuck, but guess what? I'm not any bigger than I am because it just isn't going to happen, you know what I mean? It's going to grow, and maybe someday it'll hear the right people, even though I'm at this point kind of retired, but I would have rather be real and not get anywhere than be fake, you know what I mean, and get everywhere. And the whole paying for plays, and it just never made sense to me. Like, it's a showboat thing. Like, oh, I'm going to pay for all these likes and plays, and then I'm going to show it off to people and put up the false fucking flag of that I'm something I'm not, and I just never could, dig that. And it's funny that we bring this up. There was a guest on my show, and I won't say his name, but he was a pretty dope dude. Honestly, I loved the interview I had with him. I thought he was a great guest to have on the show. And I didn't know much of him. He got brought to my attention from another cat that I had on the show. And I really wasn't a big fan of his music, to be honest. I mean, I get that it's a new type of thing that people were into. It just really wasn't my shit. And he had big, impressive numbers. And it just didn't seem to make sense to me because I'd never heard of him prior to that. His music, to me, didn't appeal that heavy, but he's having all these views, all these likes. And he seemed like such a legit dude. And I'm watching him, and I'm like, man, something just don't add up. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to scope him out. I'm actually going to invest a little bit of time into watching this cat. And sure as fuck, I watched maybe over 2 days' time. I took capture of all of his posts. I took a picture of how many likes they got, and then I clicked on the actual likes and took a picture of the names of the people that were liking his posts. And if you notice, 3/4 of them are Indian or Middle Eastern names.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like,
yep,
oh, that's interesting that your fucking music that I don't think would even sell that heavy here is getting 5,000 Middle Eastern, listeners. I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. So here's the thing. If you're going to pay for likes, it's one thing. I guess that's your prerogative to do, even though it makes no sense and does nothing for you business-wise. It doesn't even help you get out there. People believe that, a record label is going to pay attention to me because I have these likes. No, they are not. They're going to do the same thing I just did and realize you're bogus and then never approach you. So this cat not only did this cat then proceeded to put up posts bragging. And he was bragging about his numbers in ways that he's like, who would have ever thought that this dream would come true? I was once a nothing. Now I'm getting racks every month. I live off my dream, and putting up all these posts of how much money he was making, how much good he was doing and killing the game. And all of this, and I know for a fact it's fake. I watched it on several of his posts. I watched all the interactions he was getting, the shares he was getting, and they were bought shares and likes. Now, I never called him out on it because he was a nice guest of mine. I don't want to bust his balls, but a complete falsehood of who he is as an artist. The dude's complete imposter.
Right, and I've just never agreed with that, in the sense that, A, that's just fake as hell. I mean, and the fact that you're going to brag about the fact that, you spent some money to get your shit promoted. And that's all that really boils down to, that you had the extra money to basically throw at Facebook or YouTube or, whatever, to get it spread a little bit further into these other countries that really don't actually like your music to begin with. But it's just, like, I was looking at some of my numbers, which, are relatively low on Spotify and everything. But as far as, like, demographics go, again, I've never paid for any sort of distribution or anything like that. I had a couple people listening in Vietnam. I've never sent my music over there in any way, shape, or form. But that organicness of the fact that somebody over there was listening to it, that's what I do the music for. That's that cool feeling that you can't get from buying views or whatever.
No, I agree.
I get a kick out of that a lot more.
You should. I mean, it's your natural growth on. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do believe in business ethics as far as there are some opportunities you take advantage of for promotion, which will get you listeners and plays that are organic and are real. So if it's a marketing campaign that they're actually out there pumping your shit to people who want to check it out or they wouldn't click on it, then I'm down for that. Now, when it comes to, just like I said, paying for fake, it doesn't make any sense. And then when you have the balls to go on and brag that you're killing it and you're doing big things and making all this money on your music, when meanwhile you're not making any money on your music, you're in fact spending money to make it appear that you're making money.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, how does it feel to be you, bro? Like, that's the only thing I can think in my head is you must fucking suck as a human being.
Yeah, he's got that fake facade like he was a cool dude and everything, but that probably wasn't all that real either.
Dude, I honestly, and here's the thing, and he might hear this someday, he might not, I don't give a shit either way, but it's like, I was going to call him out on it, and then I'm like, no, I'll show respect, not for him, I don't respect that at all, but respect for the fact that as a guest on the show, I don't want to turn around and demify him, but at the same time, it almost makes me want to start a side segment and then just expose fuckers, because about 2 weeks after that, a guy messaged, I actually got 3 comments on SoundCloud, of 3 different people, all saying, Skippy, you're dope. You should work with such and such on a collab. And I'm like, how the fuck do I get 3 different comments telling me to work with the same artist in the same day that I've never heard of from 3 different people? It just doesn't happen. So I started looking at, they're shell accounts of him.
Oh my God.
So he's making up fake fan accounts and he's leaving comments on his own page and sharing his own page through 50 other people that are him. And he's messaging artists like me saying that you should work with dude, he's so dope. Really, he's telling me to work with himself. And then I went on to his Instagram and he has like 1.5 million as far as fans. And I'm like, this nobody I've never heard of has 1.5 million fans. I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. Clicked on it again.
Right.
All these fake names, fake accounts, shell accounts that there's nothing to. You click on it, it has 2 pictures and like 1 line for the description of the name. It's insane the amount of fuckery that's going on in the underground hip-hop scene. And we don't talk about this much, so I'm glad we could kind of dive into this tonight. We talk about a lot of different things in the show, and I always let the show lead itself where it's going to go. And that was one of the points we want to drive home tonight, people. If you are an artist out there, Do it out of love. Do it out of wanting to become something. And if you don't become it, be humbled enough to accept that and say, hey, I gave it my all. But don't go out there and pay for your own shit to appear to be something you're not, because it does not help you financially, does not help you personally, and it doesn't help you artistically. It will do nothing good for you. And when people like me discover you, they will lose all respect for you. And if I wasn't such a nice guy, I would fuck you up in the rap game. And that's the thing, is I have the power to completely just fucking ruin careers if I wanted to, because of the push that we have. And it's like, that's what people don't understand. Like, how are you going to come on my show and tell me all this stuff about the adventures that you've had that I bet aren't even fucking real?
Right, and with as many people that do listen in, that, you know, he's coming on the show expecting the people that are listening in to go and follow him, go and, you know, look him up, research, and listen to his music, thinking that every single one of them are stupid enough to not put two and two together and see, okay, somehow these numbers really aren't adding up. And I mean, maybe most people won't actually take the time and just see, oh, you have 1.3 million followers on this video, and not take the time to look at, hey, you only have 83 subscribers on YouTube. So how does that make sense?
You gotta love that shit. You know what I mean? Like, dude's got 4 million views. He's got 2 likes. You know, like, something's not right here,
Yep.
folks. Here's my thing, is if you have 1 million views on anything, you either have done something big and you are known for it at this point, or you are a fucking liar, because there's no one in the underground right now. No one. I don't give a shit who you are. If you're Playboy the Beast, I don't give a fuck if you're Gruesome. I don't care who you are. You're not getting 1 million views on your shit unless you have now broken through and you become viral and you blow up, or you're faking the funk. Because these dudes do very well, and you're going to do well, and you might get a couple 100,000, absolutely, or a few 100,000. You ain't hitting 1 million unless your shit's like a decade old. And if you are, something's wrong here. You're either about to blow or you blow.
Right, and you coming on, you know, and don't take this the wrong way in any sense whatsoever, but if you're getting 1 million views and you're not going on something like Sway, or, you know what I mean, and then what are you really doing?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're hitting 1 million views, you should be having people at that point reaching out to you and saying, hey, bro, seen the video, heard the song, it's blowing up right now. Even if you suck, if you for some reason are the right niche at that moment in that time, that the winds sweep you in the right direction, and you start hitting 1 million, 2 million plays, you've now become viral, and there will be someone out there reaching out to you to give you opportunities like, hey, I want to have you on this, or I want to do this with you, because people see the quick money. So they're going to bring you on their show. So if somehow you're getting 1 million views each and every video or each and every song, but yet only 25 people know about you, you know, something's not right here, folks.
You wouldn't be hitting people up for your own interviews, basically. That's what it boils down to. You wouldn't be calling podcasts up saying, hey, you should interview me on 3 separate accounts that ain't, you know.
That's crazy, man. That's fucking wild. And then, like I said, the other situation of the guy I had on the show, I really didn't know about him until a couple weeks before the show. Normally, I always have guests I know about. But the guy I had on was like, hey, man, my boy's dope as fuck. You should have him on. I was trying to fill an opening, and I was like, well, fuck, it works timing-wise, let's do it. And he seemed impressive, and I liked his attitude, and I liked everything I seen from him. But like I said, within 2 weeks of him being on the show, I'm watching his posts, and I'm like, something just don't make sense here. And then, boom, I'm like, that's why. I deleted him, blocked him, and got rid of him. I'm like, fuck this. I don't fuck with the fuckery.
Right. And I do the same exact shit. I mean, you know how it is in the rap game. Rappers always want to try and talk to rappers to try and get more rappers on their side of rappers. And because every single person is a rapper nowadays.
Yeah,
and
I'm telling you.
It's just all more or less, and people want to call it clout chase nowadays, but it's trying to ride everybody else's coattails to try and get yourself somewhere. And they see the internet as a way where you don't actually have to dick ride anybody else. You can just spend money and basically get the same outcome. Well, that's what they think anyway. But it usually doesn't work out like that.
Well, that goes to the same topic as buying tickets to play. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every now and again, you got to put in your work to either sell tickets or you end up buying a couple because you couldn't sell them and you weren't a good businessman. That happens. But I don't know, time and time again, people are like, oh man, I got a chance to open up for fucking such and such, and I only had to sell 120 tickets at $20 a pop. And if I do all that and make them their $7,000 or whatever that number would be, they're going to give me $150, man. And I get to open up for such and such 4.5 hours before he comes on stage. And it's like, wow, bro, I bet that really advanced your career.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad because I have nothing wrong with opening up for headliners. I've opened up for all my heroes over the years, and that's great. That's cool. But at the end of the day, it means fucking nothing. And unless they are specifically coming out and showing you notice and saying, hey, that was dope, bro. It was nice having you open for me tonight. It means nothing when you say, oh, bro, I've opened for Twisted 19 times. Because guess what? I have. That's great. Who the fuck gives a shit? Because they didn't ask me to come on the show. It's just because I was big in my city, and when they needed an opener, I would be the dumbass that would jump on it. Now, I'm saying that hypothetically. I have opened up for them a bunch of times, and I don't have to sell tickets when I do it. But a lot of times you do when you're starting out. And I hear this mentality from artists where they're like, I've opened up for ICP 20 times. Well, that's fucking cool, but every time it was you messaging the promoter, asking to get on the show and telling them you would make them thousands of dollars if they let you on.
Right.
Why wouldn't I let you on?
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I've done the same exact thing. And, like in the little bio I sent you, yeah, of course I said those things, but that's accolades, not for anybody else, but for me. That's me basically saying, like, yeah, I've opened up for my heroes, and I've played the same stage as them. And no, that doesn't mean anything probably to anybody listening, because a lot of the people listening, you yourself included, have done the exact same things.
But it's needed in a bio, though. It's good to list it, though. I think you and anybody else out there that does it, it's a good thing to list who you've played beside, because that does give you credibility. Whether that's what you're trying for or not, it does give you like, oh shit, okay, dude's not just open mic nights down the street. You know what I mean? He's actually playing real shows. But I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem when people use that as what they have accomplished in their career. You've been a rapper for, and I'm not saying you, but I'm saying someone will be like, oh, I've been rapping for 12 years and I've opened up for everyone, blah, blah, and all these people. And I'm like, when's the last time you headlined a show? When's the last time you got paid? When's the last time the entire crowd was there screaming your music and there for you? I'm like, if you've accomplished none of these things, then really all you've done is sell tickets to open up for someone else and make some promoter a fuck ton of money.
Mm-hmm. Or bought your own tickets to do so.
And bought your own tickets. I quit doing ticket shows because once upon a time we didn't have to fucking do that. We could just go on shows and get paid to play, and it was nice. And then it became tickets and all this other stuff, and depending upon how many tickets you sell determines when you play in the night. And I remember the first couple shows I did that shit for, I'm like, okay, I'm out there busting my balls to sell tickets. I sell 35 tickets, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you're out trying to sell 35 fucking tickets to random people in the city that you just moved to. It's a little difficult and no one's really wanting to buy it. You get the 35 sold, you go and you're feeling proud. And they're like, you're going on first.
Right.
And you're like, but I just made you $700 of tickets. They're like, yeah, you did. But you know what? The other guys sold more. They're like, so thanks for the $7. They're like, here's your $30. And,
here's your 15-minute set.
Here's your 15-minute set at 4:30 in the afternoon, and you're like, but there's no one here, and they're like, good luck to you. You know what I mean? And it's those things don't advance your career. I would rather see artists do open mic nights that are free, and build their way up that way until they're respected, and then jump on with a respected act. But since we were talking about some of the fuckery that goes on, I had to bring that topic up because it's one of those things that just blows my mind that I bump into a lot of cats that, especially doing interviews, you know what I mean? They have no claim to fame other than they've opened up ticket shows for such and such. And I'm like, all right, man, that's, I wouldn't bring that up to people. You know what I mean? It's just not a good look when that's all you do. You have to do regular shows. You have to have music steadily coming out, or opening up for a bunch of famous people doesn't mean much.
Right. And that's why musically, I more or less look at it as a hobby. And like I said, I've never really had much of an interest on the business side of things, all the social media stuff. I never really have been that type of person. And as long as I look at it as a hobby, I don't feel like I have to live up to any of those, You know what I mean? Because I'm not looking to go after it necessarily as a career. I put music out because I want to.
That's the best way, though. It's the best way. I mean, you have no letdowns then, and that's something that I think a lot of us had to learn. I had to learn that. I mean, for a long time, I just was so focused and pushing so hard, and I was making great big moves, and that's awesome. I mean, I'd done a lot of really cool shit, but it's something that it was like I never took the time to say, what if I don't make it? It was always like, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to do this and that, and that's awesome. But I feel that I was much happier when I said, you know what? I don't give a fuck about any of that. I'm just going to make music for me and completely. I was always making it for me, but there was a stage where I was all of a sudden like, poof. And I'm like, wow, fuck everyone but me. I'm just going to do my shit, and I'm going to be true to myself. I don't give a fuck if I play another show, if I do anything. If I make it no bigger than I'm at right now, I'm completely cool with it. I'm just going to have fun and treat it as a hobby, still push seriously, but treat it as that's all it is to me. And
right.
That's when the freedom came, and the freedom just opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be 100% real here. This is music we're talking about. Now, quite a few people in this world have the musical ability to create a song. And honestly, nowadays, it's so much easier to do it. All you need is a laptop and a microphone to be able to do pretty much anything. And it doesn't take that long to learn how to do it. So why are we glorifying, we made a song or made a 16-song album, when in reality, yeah, it takes a little bit of skill, but I mean, is it really all that much to glorify into what is essentially a hobby? And once I started looking at it like that, like, this really isn't that big of a deal. Like, yeah, cool, I made a really dope song that I think is really dope that I want to listen to. Whoopee shit. I know people that can build houses. Like, it kind of makes you think and see how relatively simple, I guess, this really all is.
And I love that, honestly, and I don't think a lot of people will pick up the full depth of that statement, but I mean, that is true, that you go in with a preconceived notion of what it is and what you build for yourself, of what music is and what a rap career is and who I need to be as a rapper. Now, it doesn't mean that you're trying to follow trends. It just means you start to formulate opinions. And start to formulate thought patterns that aren't necessarily based on fact, but based on your vision of what you think is fact. So when you start doing that, you're like, I created a song. Well, who gives a shit? You know, like you said, there's people build fucking houses for their jobs. So they're like, look, I built that house. That's beautiful. That's amazing. But at the end of the day, it's another house. And that's cool. And they're on to the next one. So when you start to look at rap that way, like, you know what, I'm making what I feel is an amazing song. Well, that's great. And I'm going to put it out there and people like it. Great. If they don't, that's cool. I'm happy I made it, and let's make another one. You know what I mean? And that's what it should be about. And I don't think a lot of people focus on that. They get so swept up in what it should be and what it could be to focus on what it is.
Right. And I mean, all of us grew up, well, not all of us, but at least in our generation grew up, watching MTV and everything, and that was our preconceived notion of what a rapper should have been, or that was a rap career at the time, and that's kind of what everybody had in their minds, I would think, when they started. And it's getting out of that I think a lot of people just haven't done yet, because they still see the flashy jewelry on the videos and everything, and they expect, that's what this is going to be. And they just don't realize that that's not it at all.
Well, and one of the things that I think happened, and this will be the last statement I make before we jump into our first commercial break and let the fans hear you, is that it became weird because, as you said, people thought that that's what it was. It was all about the money, and you're going to make money, and you're going to get big. And when it didn't seem to be that way, it's like, well, wait a second, I don't understand. That's the dream. That's what they're all living like. That's what I need to be. And it ended up becoming that as time went on, the image and how it all worked changed. And then it became, well, we don't really want that type of look. We want the goofy motherfucker. We want the person who's going to get a shock right now, the wow. We want the Tekashi 69s, the fucking people who look like a Cabbage Patch Kid. You know what I mean? Like, we want that shit because, boom, instant viral. It doesn't matter if they're good. It doesn't matter if there's quality or depth to their music. He looks funny. He's goofy. He's controversial. He's a fucking clown shoe. It sells. It makes money. And that's what's sad, is it used to be one image and it made everybody believe that it was all about money. And now it's let's exploit the artist and make them look like clowns, and then the record labels are the ones actually flossing all the money. So it is, it's a wild turn of events with what now does make it into the cream of the crop, what now is shown as being the kings of the rap game. And I'm not saying by any means he's a fucking king of the rap game, but just like what is shown on a lot of global media as far as the references of hip-hop in the generation of 2020.
Right. You know, and you have to give a lot of credit, you know, to, let's just come out and say it, the Insane Clown Posse, because they apparently inspired a whole generation of clowns, just not in the way that it was really expected.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at that point it did open up the floodgates, and it's not even joking and like I'm making fun of the Juggalos type way, but for real though, when the Insane Clown Posse started getting bigger, you know, and started really broadening their horizons with fan base, and the Juggalo army started really building, it did open up the floodgates for a lot of people to be completely out of the fucking box, which is great, but it also brought a lot of just morons out that would do things for shock value, and then it started being, well, you know what? We can take the artist that's great, and we can make some money off him. Fuck yeah, we can make $1 million. But we can take this dumbass who's not good at all, put him in front of cameras, he's so stupid everyone will love the shit out of him, and we'll make $5 million. Well, you know what? Fuck integrity. Let's make the $5 million. And it has become that all around the board. I mean, most of the shit I see now anymore, I just shake my head and I'm like, wow. I'm like, I don't even really pay attention to it because I understand that's what it is. Like, when you're looking at that level of entertainment, of course it's going to be garbage. You just expect it to be anymore. If you want to find really good quality stuff, 98% of the time you got to go to the underground, whether it be rock, whether it be metal, whether it be rap. You got to go to the underground levels of it, because usually the cream of the crop's the ones that are so fucking flushed through and beat at that point that they're just doing exactly what they're told to do to make those likes.
Yep, and that's literally it. They're fabricated more than anything.
Yeah, they're being pulled on by strings that are above them that we just don't see. I mean, that's a lot of things with politics as well. You're just seeing the puppet. You're not seeing the fucking puppeteer.
Right, and I'm trying in what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to stay the puppeteer and just control everything that I'm doing, and just kind of seeing where it goes from there.
And that's the funnest way to do it. But why don't we let these people hear what it is that you do whenever you're pulling on the strings yourself. Folks, we got a song here, and this is off his last album, Bloodletting. That is the correct title, correct?
Yeah.
I thought so. I was going to talk about the new album. I wanted to make sure I said the right album on that. That is from Bloodletting. This is Cutlery, and this is FlatLyne The Daemon. We'll be right back on Uncovering the Underground.
This is a 12-inch blade sinking your chest plate. About to have a real bad day, starting with this free. Here we go again, these motherfuckers all testing me. About to round them all up, show them how sharp the cutlery. Fillet you like a sea bass, consider this a relapse. On another level, yeah, underground till I die. Ian popping 3-5s, never hear me reply. Only the sound of your skull shattering behind. Rewind, denied a meaningful design. Attempted an extraction, but was ultimately denied. Pin bent to faction before the projectile could be fired. Hopeless is an action meant to end, but only move on. I've been gone, mind is just brimstone. That's why the brim low, always in the shadows. Can't stand all these light shows. Every day might blow. Fuses always torched, inches from sight. Go no, a millimeter and 9. You've crossed over a line. You'll never be able to see the sun out when it shines. Line you all up, string you all up from a wire, and leave you bleeding, draining, seeping until you all but expire. Someone help me out. Someone grab a reverend and a Molotov. I'm trying to have a bonfire, cleanse the skies. Here's the hoping that heaven can smell the flesh. And I'm heading up, better save a spot.
And we are back on Uncovering the Underground, and that was Cutlery by FlatLyne The Daemon off his album Bloodletting. And we have been hanging out with him for the last 50 minutes, picking his brain, going off on tangents about what the fuck is wrong with the hip-hop game these days and things that just need to end as far as trends. And we're going to continue forward on a little bit of the interview, picking his brain. Why don't you tell us what that song meant to you and how that came about?
That one, that was actually the first track that I wrote for Bloodletting. And Bloodletting to me was kind of a comeback. I hadn't touched a microphone or, really heard a beat in any way for about 5 years before I started doing that. And it was just kind of, just like the album title, Bloodletting. I had a bunch of evil inside of me, and I needed to start getting it out of me because it was starting to affect my just day to day. I was pissed off on a constant basis, so I needed to start doing something, and that was just, music was always something that helped me with that. But Cutlery, not the darkest song on the album, but it kind of feels the darkest, and it's just showing him how sharp the cutlery is. That's basically what it was, me sharpening my own skills, being the first song, writing something, coming back after 5 years, and showing myself more than anybody or anything else that I'm still as sharp as I was before.
I love it. Yeah, no, it makes sense. The name, how it fits, and then kind of the response to coming back after the first time in a little bit. That's pretty dope, and it's a dope track. I dig that one a lot. I love, as soon as it kicks in, I just start bobbing my head. That's a dope-ass beat and dope-ass song.
Thank you.
Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you earlier, and then we're going to jump onto some more brain-picking questions, is, where did the name come about? You told us how you got started. You told us about some of the stuff that happened growing up that you experienced and went through that kind of changed your life, obviously, and changed who you are as an artist, kind of led you down this path. But how did you come up with the name?
Well, my best friend, when me and him first started making music, we started out, he just went by ZT because that was his initials, and he actually gave me the name NC-17, which, you probably know is a movie rating is a little bit further past rated R. And I went with that a little bit. We kind of put a group together called the CIA, which is the Cleveland Insane Asylum. We did that for a little bit. And then after, making music for a little bit, it just kind of popped up one day. He looked at me, and for some reason he said, "Man, you just flatlined that verse." And me and him both kind of stopped in our tracks and wait a second, that might work as a name, because NC-17 was kind of rubbing me weird. And then I just ended up, after time, adding the demon to it because it kind of felt like that fit. The spelling behind it has a full-on meaning to it, and as I developed as an artist, it kind of just fell into place.
No, it makes sense. I like that you went with the traditional spelling, with the Daemon, which is originally obviously the ancient Greek, way of using it, with supernatural powers and things, which is pretty dope. You don't see that. You see a lot of regular demons and shit like that, but you don't see the traditional spelling, and I like that.
Right, and the whole meaning of the spelling of it is, in essence, without getting too specific, it's an unnatural entity that has both the powers of good and evil, but he has a tendency to stay more or less on the evil side because that's where he feels comfortable. And once that hit, and I kind of realized what it actually meant, it just stuck with me.
It's pretty dope. When you start to look into a lot of the words back then in Greek philosophy and, with demons and how it all worked. It's so different than we were led to believe. Obviously, when has anybody ever heard that they could be good and bad? When could they hear that they, have supernatural powers other than just being evil? When you start to look and kind of decipher it, it's like, wow, there's a lot of depth to it. In the traditional spelling that you're using there isn't a lot of work that I do. I do a lot of stuff on the spiritual side with ritualistic practices, and there's a lot of relationship to what you just said to a lot of the material that I am involved with.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it probably goes over a lot of people's heads, but the people that will look into it and understand what it means, I think it'll make them feel a little bit closer to the music that I make, because it kind of adds a little bit of key that kind of unlocks a lot of the meaning behind some of my songs, because a lot of them sound super, super evil. Because, it's horrorcore. I usually don't make fucking happy music. But if you kind of take the demon into consideration and really listen to it, there is a positive message in a lot of the songs that I make. You just kind of really have to dig into it and understand exactly what I'm saying.
And I think that music's amazing like that, because I always used mine years ago as an escape, that I poured a lot of the darkness that I had into it, that it helped be the savior for me to pour it into it, and it helps save the fans listening to it. And even though it is very dark, as you said, it's not promoting to go out and do the darkness. It was actually the opposite. It was telling you a tale of the depravity that was out there and the degradation that's out there and going on in the world. It was to give you that inside front seat to things that are horrible, but in a rhythmic form that people could kind of lose themselves in. And it seemed to help a lot of people. And I'm like, wow, what an odd thing that you could make so much darkness and it could bring so much light.
Right. And the biggest thing that kind of drives me with I wouldn't even say the biggest thing that drives me with my music, but I've always said that my music is my demons inside me speaking for me, because they, I can't speak for them. Or should I say I'm speaking for the demons inside me, because they can't speak for me. And if somebody listens to that and it helps them relate themselves to their own demons, and it kind of helps them get through their anger or depression or whatever it may be, that's awesome. That's the best possible thing that could ever happen. And honestly, that's why I don't charge money for my music 90% of the time, because if it could be used in any way therapeutic, that shouldn't be charged at all. And I know it helps me, and I feel 10 times better once I complete a song, and feel 100 times better when I'm in the process of creating that song. But if that in any way could help somebody else, that's a big thing for me too.
Well, if you know it helps people, I guess, and I never thought of it this way, but I guess if you know that your music helps people and you charge them in order to get it, you're really a drug dealer. You know what I mean? You're like, you need a fix of escaping and getting away from reality, and you get that out of my music. But I got to charge you $1 per song, $1 per hit, or I charge you $10 for the whole bundle.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Never really thought of it that way. I got some music for you folks. Who wants some music? I got it on the down low.
Mm-hmm. Come back in behind this alley and flip it to me,
Yeah.
I'll flip you the MP3.
I'll sell you that EP in the back alley. Meet me out there in 10 minutes. Oh,
and
shit, that's
what
crazy.
It feels like nowadays. Everything is so monetized when it comes to music that everything has a dollar sign attached to it. But you look at how much music helps people.
Yeah, and music's everything.
I don't. Yeah, it never sat well with me. So that's why, I put my music on Spotify and some paid stuff. Like, it's on iTunes and you can purchase it. It's at the lowest price of 69 cents per song and everything. But that's why it's always up on YouTube. It's always, on SoundCloud and every free site that I could possibly think of to put it on, because I want you to be able to just go and listen to it. I don't want you to have to pay for shit. I've always felt that way.
And
I used to give away.
That's admirable, though.
Yeah, I used to just. I never really sold CDs. Like I said, it's slanging CDs out the back. Playing shows in downtown Cleveland and everything at the Agora or Peabody's or whatever, and I would walk in with 150, 200 CDs and leave with $0 profit, because I would just give that shit away. That's music, man. I kind of feel the same way about weed. It shouldn't be charged. That's a medication.
Well, you know what I mean? I think that the only reason I ever went a little bit of a different way with it is I've never been greedy, but I never gave it away for free. I kind of found that middle ground, and the purpose that I always had behind it, and I still live up to this day, is that the money was never the reason for getting into it, but I knew that it helped fuel a lot of the things that I could do if I had more of it. So I really pushed the music hard for a while, and I've been fortunate enough over the last 10, 12 years of really pushing heavy in the rap game that I was able to make a nice chunk of money that I didn't ever really profit from. It never really went into my pocket. It went into, okay, let's start with just me. Okay, let's add a couple artists. Let's add a couple more artists. Let's start throwing our own shows, and let's start getting merch for the label. Okay, let's build this up. Let's add the modeling division, the radio. So I was able to use that to help a lot of artists out there and a lot of people. It's why I do the radio shows. I don't make anything off these radio shows, but do I sit each and every week and interview an artist and get you more fans? Absolutely, because I was able to use my talents to make money to help not only myself, but dozens or even hundreds of other people. None of it goes back to really benefiting me in life, but it did benefit me in life because my passion is music. So really that's the payment. So it's a wild, twisted road that I'm like, I do it to make the money to be able to do more things to help people, which in return helps me. So like you being on the show tonight, if you gain a good connection from this, gain fans, that's my fix.
Right. And that's that. And as far as, like, we were just talking the whole instant gratification and everything like that, you're not going to get instant gratification, but it's going to feel 10 times better after you put the work in for it. And you know what I mean? Like it pays off in some way. Like you just said, if it helps somebody else, that's enough of a payoff.
Exactly. I mean, it's long-term gratification. It's edging. It's just edging over and over and over again for years. You're like, I'm just waiting for it to happen. But you know what I mean? It is worth it. And honestly, it's selfish. I mean, here's something I learned a little while back in some of the spiritual things that I'm involved with, and it was that everything we do is selfishness for the most part. And when you think it, you're like, no, that's not true. So right there, I love helping people. Why? I think that in my mind, I think that I truly do it out of wanting to help people, because I do like to see artists succeed. If I think you're dope, why wouldn't I want more people to find out about you? I'm not going to hoard you to myself. But here's the thing. You as a person would say, I'm doing that out of the kindness of my soul. But whenever you're helping that person, you say that you enjoy it. Well, if you enjoy it, that means you like it. You're getting pleasure from it. So the more you help people, the more you're giving yourself pleasure. So in the end, you're fucking greedy. And we're all greedy. And that's really what it comes down to. It's a different form of greed. But the reason I help so many people is because it gets me off at the end of the day, I guess. That's what I'm saying. So it's funny whenever you think about it in that regard, is you think you're just doing something to be nice, but really you're doing it because you like the feeling it gives you. You're getting your high from it.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, trying to think of the best way to word that. Like I said before, with everything being so monetary, everything has a dollar value attached to it. I'm waiting for our society to get to a point where that doesn't mean anything, and everything is basically run off of what you just said, the greed that we all have, but not for money, but for making everybody else feel better.
That'd be
great. If we could just You know what I mean? In a perfect world, that could just be our currency, as I channel my father right there in the hippie aspect. But if we could be so lucky, but I don't think that that's a possibility, because it's in a human being's DNA. Like, you know, for that greed, it's always survival of the fittest, and that's what it boils down to, is fighting for what you want. And if that helps other people, cool, but it's still selfishness, it's still greed.
I wish that we could see a day and age, as you said, where we could all come together and really help one another, because, you know, unconditional love, if everyone took, you know, let me back up on that. There's a movie called, I believe it's called The Platform. And it's a horror movie. It's a psychological horror movie, and everyone should watch it, because the concept of the movie blew my wig back. And it really is about this exact topic, that, you know what, we could all help one another. There's no reason that anyone right now in this world is living in poverty, is living in filth, and is just left to die. Because there's more than enough money, there's more than enough care, love, and manpower to help every one of those people. We all have, you know, more than we need. Even in poor cases, we have more than we necessarily need. If we all looked in our own pockets and gave part of that to someone else who needs it, everyone would be living a great life. Yes, there might not be filthy rich. You might not be in that situation. You might be more of middle class, but maybe the whole world could be, you know, middle class level. Instead of being high class, low class, we are all living good. We're all living normal. We're all living happy. But you know what? That isn't the case, because it's all about the greed. And it's like, as long as some people can gain over others with this mentality, there will never be ultimate peace. And that's a shame, because there very well easily could be.
Yep. And I don't think in our generation, or probably a few generations ahead of ours, we'll really ever see that. Because, I mean, like I said, it's in our DNA to act that way. And it's going to take years upon years of learning. And let's just hope we have that.
Well, I think what will end up happening is that we'll reach a point as a human civilization that we will wipe ourselves off the face of the planet. The planet will take a little bit of time to heal, and then people will be birthed again to a whole new civilization, and what we will become is like Atlantis. When we think of Atlantis now, we think of this fictional, possibly fictional city that disappeared that no one can find. Oh, it's this story, it's this folklore. No, it's probably true, and that was a civilization that lived before we know humankind to have lived. And we just talk about it as if it's some type of mystery, you know, and then people started at this date. We'll eventually get wiped clean, and another race will take over, and then we will all just be a myth or something that isn't even talked about anymore. But I think that'll happen. I think it's ultimately always a test of how long can human beings evolve until they ruin it for themselves, because we're given the chance. It's almost like the movie Groundhog Day. You live the same day over and over again until you get it right. The theory of spiritualism is that you are sent back here over and over again until you learn the lessons spiritually and metaphysically to be where you need to be, so that you don't need to come back and learn a lesson again. You move on to the greater plane. Well, that's what I feel like the human existence is, that we come back over and over again for the same thing until maybe we can eventually achieve that moment of unanimous peace amongst us and combined love. And if it happens, then that's probably the last generation of human beings that will ever exist and need to exist, but it doesn't, because we always in the end destroy ourselves. We let the technology take over, just like Atlantis probably did, and eventually it hits to a point where, boom, we eradicate ourselves and it starts anew.
Yep. I mean, this planet's been around for billions upon billions of years, and the human race has only been around for such a minute fraction of that time. Who's to say there weren't, you know, civilizations equal, more intelligent, less intelligent, but there could have been 20 to 30 different civilizations of what we would think of as human beings on this planet before we were here.
And I think there was. I truly believe that.
And I mean, Atlantis is, one example. There's, stories that, during the Crusades and all the information that was burned in the libraries and everything like that, because it was deemed not, acceptable by God because it was science. How many civilizations were in that text that we don't know about? So much history over the years has been covered up or destroyed for whether it's political gain or, whatever the case may be. There's more stuff that we don't know about than we do know about.
Much
and
more. Yeah, a lot of the things that we believe and we're led to believe are a lot different than we realize. I mean, it's easy to take you, say you're my son, you were born, I stick you in a room. It's a big room. There's several other rooms attached to it. Let's call it a house. And I make that house seem like it's your whole universe. I teach you everything that you need to know. Everybody that you have interaction with is people that I brought in pre-scripted to treat and act around you a certain way. 30 years goes by. You're right where you are today. Everything that you know to be true and believe to be true is true to you. But it's all formulated from the life that I fabricated and made for you. And it doesn't mean it's any less real to you, but it doesn't make it real in the overall grand scheme of things. And when you start to change how things are perceived, what is politics? What does politics need to be? What is religion? What is history? When you take those scripts and those spells and those booklets that they found, in the caverns, like where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you burn all them and you get rid of them, you can then change history to whatever you want it to be because the history that we know is now gone. And right. You form it into whatever it is. So then we all start to believe in our history books, this is what happened. And then we tell our children that, and our children tell their children. And you know what? After generation, it has to be true because my grandparents even talk about it. You know what? Right. Your grandparents were wrong, and so are you. And it's crazy when you think of it like that. That I do believe that we've been around a lot longer than we've been made to believe. They found pyramids underwater off the coast of Japan that were made at a time period that would have predated the Neanderthals, at a technology that we would have a hard time even creating today. And this happened before human existence even was supposed to be here. How the fuck did that happen? And that's not me just saying that, folks. Look it up. There are temples under the ocean water off the coast of Japan that predate Neanderthals. You figure it out. I think there was quite a bit of things happening long before our current civilization of human beings was here.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, definitely do your research on it. You might have to do a little bit more than just typing something into Google because, like we just said, they try to destroy as much information that doesn't go along with their narrative of the story. You for a lot of the truth, you have to do your digging.
You do, and it's weird to, like, you ever notice things that are, like, true, but they always seem like to be the hocus pocus? Like, when people talk about, obviously I'm a paranormal investigator, so people talk about ghosts, and you have a lot of people like, oh, okay, this guy believes in ghosts. At this point in life, with the millions and millions of people who have had encounters, have talked about their encounters, who've come forward and talked about it, or told it at campfires, or told it to friends in confidence because they didn't want to seem crazy, to the pictures and audio that have been caught, to all the things that happen, you still have a massive, massive majority of the planet that does not believe that there's a such thing as an afterlife as far as ghosts and spirits and demons and things of that nature. It just gets pushed to the side. Same thing with Bigfoot. There's been a million fucking sightings. There's been all kinds of castings of feet. People are like, no, he doesn't exist. They've never found one. Well, that's true, but maybe they have and they've been hidden from you. But it's just funny that all the things that, most likely are real have all been made to believe sound as fantasy. Magic, one of the biggest things out there. People think, no, I'm not talking Chris Angel, I'm talking real magic. People think that is like such a bogus idea. Magic, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Like, yeah, they make movies and stuff about it because it captivates our attention. Why does it captivate our attention? Because it actually once existed and it is real, but they turn it into something that they can use to sell you, and you don't even realize what they're selling you is something that once was here. And it's still around in certain small circles. circles, and it is very, very real, but it's always pushed to the side, and people are like, okay, magic, he does magic. You know, it's wild that all these things they've somehow come to make the human race believe are, you know, just ridiculous when they're right in front of our eyes.
Right. And I mean, you could say the same thing for, I mean, hell, the last 10 years, and not even to get into any sort of political side, but people wanted to talk about, you know, the conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But yet, over the last 10 years or so, how many of those quote unquote crazy conspiracy theories have come out to be 100% fact?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, when you start to jump into the rabbit hole and you start to dig into that rabbit hole, you start getting deeper and deeper, and it can lead to obviously weird radical ideas. But I mean, the thing is, when you start to look into conspiracy theories that really resonate with you and make sense, and then you're like, wait a second, I found out about 3 other things that I've heard about but I didn't know much about, and you start to dig into those 3 and you're like, oh my God, they connect. That connects to this, that connects to that, and then you're like, oh shit. And there's a point that you cross the threshold of sanity when it comes to that, you know what, then it just changed everything you believe, and you're like, oh my God, and you can't go back. You can't go back after certain levels. Sometimes you can dabble, oh, was JFK really shot, or was he assassinated by its own government? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, those are the fun conspiracy theories everybody talks about. But I'm saying when you get into the deep shit and then you cross a certain point, you're like, oh my God, I've learned too much and I can't go back now.
Right.
And it's wild.
How many coincidences does it take for something to be a fact?
And you would think it would slap you in the face, but that's the thing, is somehow they got us all brainwashed. The mass majority are sheep, because they can, no matter how much they put in front of you, make you believe it's not real, like the things I just mentioned. Or how many times in movies do they blatantly show you true things that are going on in the form of fabrication on the movie, and we take it as just pure Hollywood content. Meanwhile, they are showing it to us right in front of us and fucking mocking us. And they're like, we're showing it to you and you dumb bastards don't even pick it up. And they love that.
Right.
That's a major power trip. If you could fool someone into believing something's not real, flash the real in front of them and sell it to them, and then at the end of the day they still believe it's not real, you have become gods.
Yep. And that's what Hollywood is pretty much based on.
Yeah, there's certainly some godlike circles there in Hollywood that have quite a bit of power and doing horrible, horrible things, unfortunately, and that's the power. And I never quite understood that. Don't get me wrong, I get the point of wanting power, but I don't understand the thirst for power so much that you just don't care about other human beings whatsoever. There is no love for mankind, and it is truthfully, I just want to become the most powerful thing in the world. Like, for what? What if you become the most powerful thing in the world? There's nothing else to achieve, and if you've achieved everything, then it's time to go.
Right, and I feel the same way with money. If I ever get to a point where I have more money than I can actually spend, I feel like I should give up, because then what really is the point? I mean, yes, I could go into charities and do stuff and help people, but just thinking of it selfishly for a second, if I have more than I could ever spend in a lifetime, then why even have it? What? And it goes the same with power. Like, why? I don't know. That's one that I don't necessarily have, like, not an answer, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense to me either. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier, is everyone could benefit if we would all help one another. But you got people out there, okay, maybe they die and they leave it to their families, and that's somewhat understandable. But if you have so much, you don't even need to leave that whole thing to your family. They could live great forever, and their kids and their kids and their kids. But I get it. You take care of your family. But you got people out there that are billionaires with no family, that don't leave it in a will, that don't give it to people knowing that their time and their days are numbered. They could just keep 2-3 million and happily live for the rest of their life, and then give away 150 million to all these people in the world and help them. But they're like, nope, I'm going to hang on to all 153 million. Fuck everybody else. For what? What good is it going to do you at this point? You can't spend it. You've literally hoarded your money and there's nothing to do with it.
Right. And why? What did that, if anything, that made you feel better?
I guess
And
it's probably a
that's
mental
about
disease
it.
of some sort. I mean, just like any hoarding, I think people like to stack themselves in with shit, and I think having the belongings makes them feel powerful. If you have it, you're like, I own that. But like, what does that mean? You own something, great. Like at the end of the day, it's a fucking stack of papers.
Right. And it's just, it's like people that own 30 cars. Are you going to drive every single one of those? So why own? I don't know. I mean, this coming from a man that lives in a van, the epitome of kind of minimalistic, but I just never saw the point of really trying to push to the point of having more than I or my family would ever need.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be comfortable, but there's no need to be just, I couldn't spend this if I wanted to. Fuck yeah, I made it. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. Why don't you give some to like 20 other people who really need it?
Right. And that's probably, if I ever got to that point, that's probably what I would do, and get myself to a point that I'm comfortable and give the rest of it away. I don't need it.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you 100%. Well, I'll tell you what, before we dig any deeper, I want to jump into another track. We do have a second track here for you folks. This one's called Screams of a Tortured Insect by FlatLyne The Daemon. We'll be right back on Uncovering the Underground.
Wake me up, I'm about to shove you in the trunk, bitch. I'm a monster killer beast, slayer rising from the dust. Cause do you remember me? Your bitch been seeing me in her dreams, slut. Now she praying to me upon the altar that you lay on. Our Father, art in heaven, please take the sacrifice of bloody reverend. See, I've been stalking you, watching you while you walking. Your every move, I've been haunting you, waiting upon the perfect move. Calculating your servitude, realizing your worthless, rearranging your attitude with the point of the orbit class. Hey, the doctor's away, I'm here in his place. Don't be afraid, cause I got something that'll take away the pain. Shake me up like I should have been when I was young. Slice me up, drain the blood, let this drink sit upon your tongue. I am a prophet, but my word is not that of the Holy Father. The devil's tongue, a silver serpent slaughtering the fallen. Beaten, raped, twisted, generation of non-existence. If you blink, then you might have missed it. This is far beyond the misfits. Follow me if you wanna see everything that you've missed. Take your risk with the razor like this. Blood rains out veins, and this we pray. Spell out thy name and mark the grave. You hate, I hate, we share the same distaste for greatness, but bear the pain.
All right, folks, we're back on Uncovering the Underground, and that was Screams of a Tortured Insect. I love that name. That's pretty illusionary and vivid. What made you come up with that?
Well, I am the tortured insect. And that's me screaming about just literally how I've been tortured and how it makes me want to torture.
No,
I've
dope.
kind of felt like, ever since I was young, man, I've always felt like that little insect that just keeps getting stepped on over and over and over again. And I've never been the biggest dude in the world. I've never been a fighter. And this is kind of my way to fight back, to scream back at, everybody that's been stepping on me for so long.
Your superpowers, whenever you pick up the microphone, at that point, your powers come out. You don't need a ring, you don't need a cape, you just have the microphone.
Yep, and my words can be weapons.
They certainly can, man. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with lyrics and what you can do with music, and that's pretty dope. I have a comment that just came in, says that really is a cool track name. Thank you, Heather, for tuning in. I figured you were out there as you were one of our regulars. I just didn't see you tune in before now, so I'm glad you did before the end of the show tonight. But that is definitely a dope name. If you like what you heard, please check out FlatLyne The Daemon. If you're tuning in right now, folks, and you've missed the first portion of the show, don't worry. After the live portion ends at 9:30, you can always go back and listen to the entire episode, and I encourage that. You can stream it, you can download it. That way you can have it on your device on the go. We do still have about 5 to 6 minutes left on the show. It went by quick tonight. And as you heard, we did a little bit more of a talk show portion tonight than a full-blown interview. As I was telling him during the break, you never know which way the shows are going to lead, and that's why I love Uncovering the Underground, because it just always goes a different direction. And tonight we talked about some great topics. If you enjoyed what you heard, please leave a comment, share it around, follow it. It helps us out. Please follow him as an artist, support him. Buy his album, even if it's cheap, because he gives it away pretty cheap. Make sure you buy it. It helps him out a little bit, and it gives you what you need for ammunition to listen to. My hands were tied up, but I've been lurking. Well, we appreciate you lurking and watching us from a distance. Now, why don't you tell us, as a question I always ask, I'm going to fire about 2 more out at you, and we're going to have to finish up. It went by quick, brother. It was good talking to you tonight. But the 2 questions I have is, if you had the option of picking between writing a hit song that would financially set you for life and buzz-wise for life, you would be a star, but every other song you wrote, everybody always compared it to that one song. Oh, man, yeah, that's cool you made that, but what about that one song? Or is it going to be the other option where you write song after song after song that are bangers, but only to you? That every time you let someone listen to it, they're like, yeah, cool, bro. Like, you know it's a hit, but everybody for some reason reacts to it like, okay, man, good song. Would you pick never getting the recognition but feeling like you have hits and no one ever noticing it? Or getting that huge notice but only one time and every other song being a failure?
I mean, that could go either way, but and the only reason I would even consider option A is knowing I'd be set up for the rest of my life, and so would my son, and so would, anybody else in my family. And at the end of the day, fuck what anybody else thinks. If I thought that one hit was a banger and I didn't sell out making that one hit that made me that amount of money, sure. But at the same time, I think I'd still go with option B, knowing to myself that every one of my songs I put everything into and it's a banger to me. I could make my living another way, because like I said, the music's just a hobby. I can set myself up for the rest of my life and my son's life and everybody else around me some other way. Music's just kind of something I need to do.
No, I feel that, man. I feel that heavy. You do it for you, and you want to keep it true to yourself, and you can find a living another way. You don't need to lose the integrity of your music, because that is what saves you. So yeah, you might have that one hit, but then everything after that is no longer the release. And as I said earlier, it's like a drug. And if you have an addiction and you keep hitting it and it ain't getting anywhere you need to be, that's a problem, and it leads to bad things. So the same thing with music. If you lose that escape, sure, you have the money and you have the fame, but now you have no escape, and you have all that time and money. And it's just going to eat away at you. So it'd be better to write the songs that are true to you. And you can always find the living the different way. I like that answer. I always get a very, very unique and different answer on that question, so I dig it.
Well, thank you. That's another, it goes right along with the whole, music shouldn't be monetary. I don't put a price to my music other than how it makes somebody feel.
No, that's the way it should be, man. I really respect that a lot. Now, we are running short on time as it's rounding 9:30 right now. I do want to ask you one last question, and then we're going to have you say your thank yous and tell us where we can check you out at. If you had to give a piece of advice to an upcoming artist right now, either from something that you went through and it's been a lesson learned that you certainly wouldn't do again, but you learned from it, or anything in that matter. If you had to take a young buck under your wing right now that was truthfully passionate about the rap game, going through some struggles like you did, what would you give them as far as advice of the best way to go about getting into rap?
I would give them 3. Number 1 being, always put every single thing that you possibly can into that music you're writing, regardless of what anybody thinks. because it's going to be more of a release for you than it is for anybody else. Number two, fuck what they think. It literally doesn't matter. As long as you like it, that is what matters. And number three, probably never going to make that much money making music, bro. Do it for the love of it. Don't do it for the money, because it's probably a 1 in a million shot that you're going to make it to the point where you can buy a big old diamond chain. There's almost no point. But if you do it for the love of the music, that's all the monetary gain you'll need.
No, that's some real shit right there. I think number three really is the most important, because if you're doing it just to reach that dream, then you might as well get out of it. If you're doing it because you love it, there's a chance it might lead you to your dream, but that's the way you need to go. If you're going into it just to become famous, you got a hell of a long road for you, and you're going to be running for a long time. So get used to some tired legs. Why don't you tell us who it is that you would like to who it is you'd like to thank out there, where it is that the fans can check out your music, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up this evening with one last song for you.
I want to put a huge shout out and huge thank you to my moms. I'm gonna try not to get teared up, but she's had my back since day one, no matter what it was. I mean, hell, she put me on this planet 30 years ago yesterday. And I thank her more and more every day that I'm here for that. So I love you, moms. I thank you. I know she's probably listening right now. Thank you to my girl, Kristen. She's had my back since we've been together 2 years strong now, and it's been incredible. I love you to death. Thank you for having my back with all the crazy shit that I put you through. And I know he ain't listening, but thank you to my son, Jackson, because without you, I probably wouldn't be here. But yeah, you can find me on all social media, Facebook. All you really got to do is just search the name FlatLyne The Daemon, Daemon. Instagram, it's THA.Daemon, spelled the same way. I'm on SoundCloud, Spotify, anywhere that you can find music, you can find me. YouTube, if you want it free, always. It's always going to be on YouTube. Regardless if it's on Spotify or anywhere else, I'll always post to YouTube. My music will always be free. Come check me out, man. I always drop music. It's a constant thing with me.
That's what's up, man. Make sure you check it out, folks. We've been hanging out with him for the last hour and a half. We're closing up for the evening, but if you're wondering who the man is, it's FlatLyne The Daemon. You've heard several of his songs here tonight. We're about to jump into one last one as we fade out for the evening. Please go back and listen to the episode from the beginning. Share this and all of our past episodes of Uncovering the Underground. Feel free to tune in anytime. Let us know your loves of the show, your dislikes of the show. We just love to hear from you. We got several comments coming in right now. I love that he thanked his mom first and foremost. Well, there you go, Heather. I'm sure, that a lot of people would love that, and it does stand out because that's, one of the most important people in most of our lives. Love you and proud of you. That's what's up. We got another comment coming in, so you got some people pouring in at the moment at the end here. And real quick, I do want to give some announcements before we wrap up. Next week, on the 4th of June, we do have the Rooster from 9 Stitch Method off of my label, Brutal Business Entertainment. We are going to be talking about not only his group 9 Stitch Method, himself, his new project Seethe, and him recently taking over Brutal Business Entertainment as far as the management portion. I did hand over the keys from the management position to him, and we are going to be talking about him taking on the company, all of the plans he has coming up for BBE, and so much more. So make sure you tune into that. The following week on the 11th, we have Freeze from Beyond Top Secret. You might remember those guys from about a month or two ago. Great, trio rap group that we had on the show. Very surprising. These dudes are heavy bar content and very impressive. So make sure you check that out. And as I said, go check out FlatLyne The Daemon. We appreciate, him coming on the show tonight. Show him some love and pick up his merch. We're going to fade into one last song for the night. This one is called Nothing's Wrong. And other than that, I do want to thank you, brother. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. We'll catch you around.
Yeah, thank you for bringing me on, man. Much love.
Absolutely. You heard it, folks. FlatLyne The Daemon. Nothing's wrong. We'll catch you next time on Uncovering the Underground.
I can feel it deep inside of me, rocking within. Something's wrong. I can hear it screaming inside of me, telling me that something's wrong. I can see it in the reflection of the mirror that something's wrong. I can taste the blood on my tongue. What have I become? A violent bum, higher this drug, higher the slug, slide the gun, and then it click with a bowl. But yet here I stand, another lost human in a desolate land, trying to reach for reality, but instead I grasp another 6-inch tablet that explains my path. Haunted by the dreams that I thought I had, but when I wake up all I see is all these hyenas laughing. Always smiling faces put behind their masks is every single reason to drive a person to madness. Every piece of straw leaving me broken backless, without a care, far less than hopeless. Willing to don this mask, y'all think I'm joking. Ready to grab this rifle, start to scoping, ready to end it all, and here's the hoping. Pull the trigger, your forehead blows open. Pull the trigger again, explode your whole shit. I can feel it deep inside of me, rotting within. Something's wrong. I can hear it screaming inside of me, telling me that something's wrong. I can see it in the reflection of the mirror that something's wrong. Vomiting rabies now, regurgitated inside with sulfur and hell. And I hate the smell, but know it all too well. Got a couple demons inside of me, constantly plotting, and I'm wondering if I'm ever gonna get them up out of me. But I'm thinking they're a part of me, and there ain't no stopping them. So I'm to learn to embrace them. That means I'm constantly watching them, trying to gain all the knowledge I can and use it to stop the sun from shining on everybody that believes they're a prophet. I crucify him on a cross made of the bones of the Messiah. Leave him there to feed the maggots as a reminder. I am the one they all speak of. Never name for fear I may see them. Within the night they pray I don't reach them. What they don't know I hear when they breathe in. I see the flames that crave when they scream in. Unleash the spray and drain all defense. Hate me, you hate the wake of all rejects. Rise from the grave and prey upon the weakness. I can feel it deep inside of me, rotting within. Something's wrong. I can hear it screaming inside of me, telling me that something's wrong. See it in the reflection of the mirror that nothing's wrong. Sulfur by your blood, fire slug. High enough, why you just? Cause I'm trying to reach a level that's deeper than the devil is Satan. So when I get there ain't nobody that wait. I can feel it deep inside of me, rotting within. Nothing's wrong. I can hear it screaming inside of me, telling me that nothing's wrong.
All right, folks, we'll catch you next time. And real quick, happy birthday, FlatLyne The Daemon. We'll see you around.